Hey guys, Jesse here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the RG Crossbone Gundam X1. And man, guys, this is a really nice kit. I mean, I'm just sort of blown away at how nice this kit was. Before I start, I just want to say I always thought it was called the Crossbones Gundam, not the Crossbone Gundam. I'm pretty sure you need multiple bones to make a skull and crossbones. I suppose you could take one bone and like split it in half or whatever, but I don't really want to think about the semantics behind making a skull and crossbones using only one bone. Uh, but yes, this is the Crossbone Gundam. Let's just get it spinning and we'll talk about it. So I have to say, I think I might be converted to the RG line if Bandai continues to make their RG kits like this because like I just said, this is a must buy in my opinion. If you love Gunpla, this kit is just unbelievably impressive. Um, I think the build, just the how nicely it went together, was probably the most impressive part to me. But not only was the build fun, it looks fantastic. The proportions are absolutely perfect, and it's just an attractive looking kit. It's a cool design. I really like the pirate aesthetic to it. That may be a turnoff for a lot of people. It used to be for me. I used to think it looked a little too goofy with the literal skull and crossbones on the Gundam, but over time I really grew to it, and this is like a perfect representation of it. It comes with an absolute smorgasbord of accessories. That's right, just a smorgasbord of stuff to mess with, which has always been a sort of gimmick per se with the Crossbone Gundam. It always had a huge arsenal of things it could do, but the fact that this kit actually includes all of them at this scale and this detail is just great. So let's just talk about the build real quick, which started off absolutely disastrous, I must say. You see how there's a bit of white here in that joint where this bone or whatever you want to call it is attached on the backpack? That broke, and that is the first piece you take off of the runner. It's one of those RG dual injected parts where you cut it off the tree, then you bend the joints to kind of form what you need. I took that off of the tree and I went as slowly and carefully and as best as I could as they tell you to do it, but it snapped. And I am so glad there are only two of those sort of pieces on this whole kit, the chest piece and that little backpack connector, and they're both pretty awful. Like I said, luckily there's only two of them, and the rest of the inner frame is actually built up like a master grade. It's just really impressive, and it's fully detailed. You can see it in my unboxing, and yeah, it's just such an enjoyable build experience because the older RGs, and I haven't built RG in a while, so I don't know if this is a recent thing, but the older RGs, you would cut off that dual injected piece, kind of form the inner frame, and then just put the pieces on it. This is far more enjoyable and far more stable and less frustrating. Another thing about the build is that this kit is almost entirely undergated. I mean, even the white is undergated. I don't get why, but it is. And any part that isn't undergated, the nub is hidden incredibly well. I said this quite a while ago when I reviewed the Amatsu Mina, the RG Amatsu Mina, that Bandai, I think, is really trying to appeal to the straight builder with these RG kits, and this has just sort of solidified that for me because there just are a lot of aspects to this kit when we bring it in closer and talk about it that you just don't have to do any work on it. It looks just fine if you just snap it together, and I have no problems with that. It's great, and the undergating and the nub, the way they hid the nubs are just perfect on this kit, really. Um, so what else can we talk about? In terms of the actual build for me, I just straight build this thing pretty much. There's no panel lines on this guy. I use the eye stickers, the camera sticker in the back of the head, the camera sticker on the beam rifle, and I did use the chest sticker there just because it's sort of a iconic. It kind of completes the look for this kit. You really can't have the Crossbone Gundam without that insignia on the chest. And luckily they give you 2 because I really screwed up the first one, which I'm sure that's why they gave you 2 for people like me. So anyways, let's go ahead and bring it in closer and we'll talk more about it. So here we are nice and close with the RG Crossbone Gundam. Let's go ahead and get the spinning base out of the way there. Again, just look at this guy. Just look at him. He's beautiful. Great panel details, just enough to look good and not overwhelming. Yeah, sculpt is beautiful. There's no two-tone colors on this thing. I thought that was a really big selling point of the RG line. But here you only got 1 tone of white, 1 tone of yellow, 1 tone of this bluish purple, and 1 tone of this red and gray. So yeah, no dual tone look to this guy, which isn't a problem for me. I didn't really like it myself. And if you really want it, well, it's time to learn how to paint, buddy. But otherwise, I don't think you really needed it. This is a very small kit. It's from the F91 sort of timeline, so all the mobile suits are quite small. And therefore, if you try to pack too much detail into such a small kit, it all gets kind of jumbled and becomes a little hard to look at. So I'm kind of glad they didn't go with the dual molded or dual toned color on this guy. So coming up to the face real quick, I just want to say, in my unboxing, I mentioned that these red lines on the side of the face were stickers, and they are, but they're actually molded details in there. So if you just take a red Gundam marker or a red Sharpie or some red paint, you can just wash that in there and fill that in with actual color instead of a sticker, because I didn't use the stickers, but I'm sure they do not go in there well. It's such a small detail that there's just no way they'll stick. There are a couple of missing color apps, and they're just right here in the face. The Vulcans on the side there, they should be gray. And that's it. The rest of this kit is completely color accurate. So that's the only thing you really got to fix. And even parts on here on like the arm, where that is usually a panel line, that's actually a part. The gray inner frame actually kind of pokes through a slot there. Same thing with the leg here. That's not a panel line. I mean, it's meant to be a panel line, but they filled it in with the inner frame. This is something I really hope Bandai does with future master grades and other Gunpla and their other lines, because that is just so nice. The only problem I can see it kind of presenting is if you want different colored panel lines for some reason, but for those of us who just like gray or black panel lines, it can totally be done with the inner frame poking through. Even back here on the back, they did it. It's just, God, it's so good. It is just so good. So let's talk about the articulation. It's really good on this kit. There are some weird parts, but overall, it's all good. The head can go back. It kind of has this lower joint that allows it to look up really far. But look down only about that far. It actually doesn't go any further. This joint runs into the chest, and then it's just on that ball joint. The face does transform. You pull down the chin. It's a little hard to get in there, but the face does transform. But I find that anytime you move it forward, it closes up the mouth. So you can really only have it looking straight up or forward, but as soon as you try to look down with it, it tends to close. You can open the cockpit here, and you can actually see the core fighter inside the Gundam, which does detach. We'll talk about that in the sort of gimmicks section. The arm only goes up about this high. I will say this is a bit of an issue. There we go, never mind. I guess mine was just sort of stiff and stuck, but you can get it up about that high. It's not too bad. This shoulder armor, by the way, is just beautifully constructed. Those are all separate parts in there. It's a very nice build, and just, again, the sculpting and the angles on these pieces are just, it's so good. Double jointed arm gets a beautiful bend there. Bowl jointed wrist. This kind of punchy boxing glove thing / shield comes forward with a nice mechanism there. And on the back, you've got some nice inner frame detail poking through there. Yeah, this is good stuff, guys. It really is. The chest has a forward and back kind of double jointed crunch and swivel. So it's pretty good, can look pretty far up. The side skirts, well, the skirts in general are pretty good. The front skirts are really interesting because they had to build in the sort of grappling gimmick, and as you can see, it's sort of coming apart there. It won't fall apart, but to get everything lined up, it doesn't quite happen when you're moving it around. But it's actually in there on a peg, so they actually can swivel like this and then move up and down. So they can move left and right, but you can get it kind of like this. You kind of have to work with the swivel. I kind of prefer this style of articulation for this skirt. I kind of want to see this with high grades, but as it is, it works just fine. But because of the grappling hook gimmick, these pieces do tend to separate. Again, they won't fall out or anything. They'll just open up a little bit. Side skirts are on a hinge, and back skirts are on ball joints. So full detail underneath, really good. Then you've got a space back here for the action base adapter. Kind of strange that it goes back here. This kit is incredibly light, so it's not a problem. Normally, if this kit was heavier, all that front load would cause it to fall over, but it doesn't. Hips are weird because they can do this. I'm not sure when the F91 could, or the Crossbone Gundam did this in the manga or novels or anything, but yeah, the whole hip kind of swivels down. It's, yeah, kind of strange, but it can do it. It can get you some really nice flying poses. It can kick up nice and far, no issues there. It can go out all the way, no issues there. Double knee bend looking really nice, nice full detail in there. And the knee armor does separate slightly, so that looks really nice. The word of the day for this kit is nice. Ankle armor, you've got these little fins that go up and down. Ankle armor just kind of goes up and down. You've got a toe joint. The foot can go back only about that far. That's a bit disappointing. I can't really go any further than that. I think that's all you need, but wish there was a bit more. Can't really go up, and the ankles do swivel, but they are quite stiff. And then, of course, they can rotate. So, yeah, the feet are probably the weakest part of this kit. I do have problems standing him up with his feet flat just because they seem to never want to go where you want them to go, but it's not that big of a deal. The boosters on here are all on ball joints. Again, I would be extremely careful with these. This is where my joint broke, as you can see. And the way this thing is constructed, it kind of sandwiches over this center circular part, and the pegs just aren't big enough. They just won't snap together, even with friction, so I had to glue that together. It'll never come apart, so no real issues there. And each thruster can move like that. The core fighter does come out just out of the Gundam just like that. And to transform it, you move that nose forward, you move these, I guess these are Vulcans or something down, and then you've got that. The cockpit does open, and the thrusters are supposed to move back like this. And I'm really afraid to break this again because I actually had to glue it twice, so I'm not going to put it in its full mode, but you get the idea. And then to put it back into the Gundam, you swivel those up, tuck the nose cone under there, and I had some issues doing this. I might just have built it a little bit off, but I found if you're having issues, sorry about that. I meant to say angle it downwards, so get those lined up and kind of angled down, and then it should be all the way in there. Again, if you just kind of go from the bottom or straight, it doesn't quite snap all the way in there. But otherwise, yeah. That's about it for the articulation. Absolutely excellent. The only weak part being the feet, really, but they're really not bad, especially if you're trying to get some flying poses on this guy. So let's talk about it's just so many accessories, guys. I mean, this is going to take a while, so buckle up. Let's talk about some extra parts first. So you get dual D plates here, and there's just a lot of extra parts you won't be using. You actually get a couple of leftover hand covers, which would be really good for scratch building or customizing for later. You get some leg parts there, and you also get some crotch pieces here and then you also get this small part there. Real quick, here are the stickers for anyone interested, just a bunch of caution markings. Next up, you've got, let's go ahead and get this thing out of the way. You've got this cloak. This is apparently an anti-beam mantle or something like that. To me, it's just a giant piece of cloth. I don't get how this is supposed to block beam weapons, but there you go. To get this on the Gundam, the easiest way is just to pop off the head. I'm really going to risk breaking my other thruster there, so let's see what I can do. Right. Okay. Get those out of the way. Drop the cloak on. And let's see. Drop the head on. Yeah, there we go. Now he's got the full cloak on, whatever we're calling this. I know the full cloth is a entirely different Gundam or whatever, but there you go. He can poke his arms out and he can get them, and this all moves on ball joints and stuff, and he can get this sort of wherever he needs it to be. Because of my broken thruster there, I'm afraid to do any more with that, unfortunately, but just make sure not to break the thruster, oh God, like I did. And if it breaks again in this review, well, I'll just have to battle damage this guy, won't I? Action base adapter. Action base adapter for the core fighter, so you can actually pose that on its own if you really want. Tiny 1 to 1/44 scale pilot. You get a couple of option parts for the eyes. So he comes with this sort of eye patch piece. So we can get that to focus there. Yeah, so it's going to go on the right eye, and then you've got a matching half of an eye here in this clear piece. Now, strangely enough, they don't really give you a sticker for this eye. They give you the individual green parts of the eye, but no black. So I think the easiest thing to do is just to paint that. And switching between the two eyes does not look easy at all. So I would choose which one you want first before assembling the whole thing. Then you've got a couple of beam sabers. Really cool looking beam sabers in my opinion. I just like how skinny they are and how, just how skinny they are really, and how straight. It really reminds me of the G Self. There's nowhere to store the beam sabers as far as I can tell, so that's kind of strange. But why on earth would you want to use these beam sabers when you've got this huge thing? Yeah, look at this thing. This is the beam. I don't know what this is called. The beam scimitar. That's what I'm going to call it. Beam pirate sword, whatever. But that is just so cool, that beam effect part. It's just so nicely molded. I don't really get the physics behind the beam creating this part, but who cares, right? Look how cool it is. Got a nice handguard there. Again, all these colors are molded in there. No stickers required. And it just, this part, oh, it's in there pretty good, pops in there just like that. Then you've got I think this is called the beam zamber, and then you can do something else with it, which I'll show in a second to make it a bigger beam zamber essentially. There's where that green sticker went. And yeah, really nicely molded, nice detail. This could really use some detail painting to really bring out the look in it, but as it is, it's not bad. And what you can do with this and the beam scimitar there is fold this down, fold that up, take this part, spin it around town, pull it down, connect it together. My mistake, I was connecting it upside down. But there you go. Now you've got this stronger beam rifle, I guess. This is a really cool looking beam rifle in my opinion, or I think it's called the beam zamber, like the bigger beam zamber or something like that. But yeah, really cool. Again, could use some detail painting, like painting that chain a different color, painting these ball ends a like metallic silver. But yeah, that's a really cool feature, and you can store both of these weapons on the kit. And they have a peg here. They can go on the side skirts there, and this one has a peg there. So very cool. And in order to hold all these weapons, you just get a beautiful, and I mean beautiful, selection of hands. You've got a couple of these trigger finger hands, which are really nicely molded and are angled down a bit to hold the weapons. You get really sweet open style hands. These are the best open styled hands I've ever seen, just so dynamic. I think the only thing that comes close are the MG Destiny hands for holding the beam effect parts. Otherwise, these are reigning #1 right now, baby. Then a couple of regular holding hands for the beam sabers. And then, of course, you get the 2 fists on this guy. And they're really nice fists, I must say. They're a little bit angled out, so they look a little more dynamic. And they're just nice. So, yeah, great hand options. I want to see more of that, Bandai. Don't start wimping out on me with hand options. Forgot to mention, you also got one more weapon in each of the legs on the back here, which is kind of a pain to get out. You kind of have to pinch it out. But a couple of these little handles to put these little itty bitty blades on. And I believe these are just physical little knives, and of course you can hold them just fine. I'm pretty sure they redesigned this blade in particular. I remember the old ones being just kind of a straight, kind of stiletto style. Now it's more like a hunter's knife. And you can also put this in the foot for a sort of knife attack there. I don't know which way that goes exactly, but I think yeah, definitely goes this way. Yeah, that's a very cool, very, very cool feature. Yeah, this guy's just packed with gimmicks and stuff, and we're still not done. We gotta talk about these things. The punchy boom boom death punch. You get a couple of these really nice beam effect parts. You get 2 of them, and they just go ahead and plug right in here. Yep, just like that. They're supposed to make an X when he punches. It's like Zorro, but with Gundam. And you can take off this little end part and put on this giant beam shield, which again is just nicely molded and looks fantastic. This can also swing back and be held on the back, but he's meant to hold it forward like this. So yeah, you only get one of those beam shields though. I'm not really complaining about that, but you do have 2 of these. So if you really wanted to have him dual wielding beam shields, you'll just have to buy another one of these guys and paint it as a different variant of the Crossbone Gundam, because there are quite a few, and I have to guess that with the release of this guy, we will be getting a lot of P Bandai soon. And his last, but certainly not least feature, you can pull out his side skirt or front skirts here, throw these around to make little grappling hooks, and they give you 2 of these chains to plug onto the front of his skirt armor. I'm not too crazy about this particular feature, and I think it works really well. However, this piece is not a flexible piece of plastic. I think if you heat it up a little bit and get it to where you need to get, as you can see, I think I just broke it. So I would heat it up, bend it in a way you want it to bend, and then pose with it. Yep, I pretty much just broke that because this is not supposed to bend, really. It's made out of the same inner frame plastic as the inner frame is on this guy. So I think it would have been better if they just gave us a wire and did it that way, but I guess they wanted to get the molded chain detail on this guy. So can't really blame them for that. I think I should have known bending that was going to stress it and break it. But yeah, again, just take a blow dryer and heat that up and bend it in a cool pose and then pose them with that. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's all he comes with, really. That's a pathetic amount of accessories, Bandai. No, this is fantastic. This just opens up an unlimited, well, limited to what you got realm of possibilities, because this guy just has so much stuff to pose with. Of course, I think a majority of people are going to pose him with this guy, but the Beam Zamber here, along with the extended version and all the amount of hands you have, and the posability on this guy is just going to make for a really fun posing time. So let me pull back the camera and I'll talk about my final thoughts. So my final thoughts on this, guys, are just go out and buy it, guys. Just go out and buy it. This is a must-have kit, I have to say, for anybody who enjoys building Gunpla. It's just the details on it are fantastic. The proportions are fantastic, and you'll just have fun building it, I guarantee. Is it a 10 out of 10 kit? Close. I would say unbelievably close. The closest a kit has ever come to being 10 out of 10 on my channel, at least. But it does have some issues. The feet, for whatever reason, I just have such an issue posing, and I have no idea why. And I did break a piece up there knowing to be incredibly slow and patient while moving that piece. It still broke. So there has to be some sort of issue with Bandai and molding such tiny pieces and that RG frame material. My opinion is just to get rid of it completely, but I guess Bandai is going to keep at it until it works. Otherwise, there's like nothing else to complain about this guy. That is such a minuscule complaint list when it comes to the grand scheme of things of this kid. This is a masterpiece, in my opinion, for Bandai right now. And like, how could you hate this guy when he just comes with all this stuff? I mean, you've really got to be some sort of stickler if you can't enjoy all the stuff that this guy comes with. I mean, come on. I mean, how can you dislike him? Look at all the stuff he comes with. In any case, that's going to be it for me. Again, just buy this guy. You won't regret it. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.